African women lawyers have issued their strongest call yet for deeper political participation, stronger legal reforms, and an end to gender based marginalization as the 2025 African Women Lawyers Association International Conference officially opened in Benin Republic Economic Capital, Cotonou. With the theme From Margins to Mainstream, the African Woman into Unfettered Sustainable Development, the conference set the tone early. African women are no longer asking politely for inclusion. They are demanding their rightful place at the center of decision making across government, courts, and communities. Delegates traced the journey of women's rights in Africa, reflecting on decades of harmful customary practices. Speakers emphasized that despite progress in legislation, a major gap persists between written and implemented laws.
You know, those of you who are older, and even those of you who are younger, you know what we went through. Some of you went through it.
À ce temps, les gens qui sont âgés et les gens qui sont jeunes aussi savent ce qu'on a vécu en ce temps.
Painful traditional and customary practices entrenched into law, stripping our women and our girl children of their human being, their essence of being a woman.
Il y avait des traditions qui ne laissent pas les femmes d'être libres en ce temps. Et c'était juste les garçons qui ont le droit de faire certaines choses.
Across West Africa, young girls subjected to female genital mutilation are lawyers. And you know that if the provisions to safeguard the rights of women are not in the law, especially those traditions are not legislated into law, then you might as well have no law, no justice, no system.
On est des
levier de croissance et d'autonomie. Réduire la fracture
of inclusion when it comes to women, participation in roles, government roles, and also private, whether private or in the public sector. She also speaks about digitization, also including women in the digitization and civilization agenda of the world. She also talks about economic enhancement, equipping women to be economically independent.
Excellencies, sisters and friends, it is a pleasure to join you virtually at this year's African Women Lawyers Association International Conference. 30 years since the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. We've witnessed remarkable progress, building on the foundation of the UN Convention on the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. We now have stronger legislation than ever before. Laws that protect women and girls against violence. Laws that protect economic rights and advance women's leadership. Laws that safeguard access to education and reproductive health. Between 2019 and 2024 alone, 99 positive legal reforms were adopted globally to remove discriminatory laws and establish gender equality frameworks. These achievements would not have been possible without the tireless advocacy of women lawyers across Africa and beyond. Your work in courtrooms and communities has changed the day-to-day realities of women's lives and brought about change that would have been unimaginable just decades ago. They've had an impact on not only women and girls, but on entire societies. Yet these gains can slip away. Right now, pushback against women's rights is threatening to dismantle legal protections and to push gender equality to the margins. We need governments, women's movements, and legal professionals standing together, defending our hard-won gains and pushing forward. The momentum is here. Last September, at the high-level meeting marking 30 years since Beijing, African governments made concrete pledges, fast-tracking reforms on violence against women and girls, women's leadership, and post-crisis recovery and financing. In East and Southern Africa, 61% of commitments are about law and policy reform. The African Women's Lawyers Association has the expertise, the networks, and the standing to turn these commitments into reality.
Speakers rejected decades-old beliefs that women belong only in the home, insisting instead on boldness, financial independence, and intentional pursuit of political and institutional power.
And then we have to empower ourselves financially and also seek power. When I say seek power, we have to be in politics. Because like Nigerian situation now, only 4% of women in the National Assembly. That is bad. Absolutely bad. And I'm using the medium to call on the President of Nigeria and presidents of other African countries that they have to be deliberate and intentional about empowering women. They're talking about 35% affirmative action. It's not enough. Give us 50%. It's our right, it's our demand. Give it to us. Don't wait for us to keep fighting. We've been fighting over the decades, and it's so sad to know that even at this time that we're still having 4% representation. How do we intend to impact women when we have only 4% in the House? Who's going to support those laws? Who's going to vote for those laws? That's why gender laws were thrown out. And there's no way those laws can be passed except the government is intentional about getting more women into parliament and getting more women in positions of authority.
Things that we have to look at in Africa and which we are helping to progress and implementation of the laws is very important in Africa. They write the laws and then nothing much gets done, especially in cases of domestic violence and sexual harassment and sexual abuse. We don't see much of that being implemented, and we are looking, at setting up special courts, special domestic violence, police units, and one-stop shops, one-stop environment in which both women, girl children, and boy children, and men will feel free to go record their complaints and know that their complaints are actually being processed.
We as women should not just wait for our men to give us space. We should take the space ourselves. And there are some men out there that are actually willing to give us space, while some are still living in the past. But
the choice of Benin Republic as host was also celebrated. While several countries expressed interest, our leadership said bringing the conference to Benin was a deliberate move to deepen the organization's presence across West Africa and strengthen regional solidarity.
While progress has been made, speakers warned that if African women decide to step back now, the gains of the past 30 years could disappear, taking with them hard-won rights to education, property, justice, and political space. Okpayemi Owosheni, TV360 News, Cotonou, Benin Republic.